What's your biggest worry when it comes to eating more plant-based? Is it the cost? Many people want to improve their health and know that having more fruits and vegetables in their meals will help them get there, but don't know if they can afford it. You may be one of them. And there's a key concern that you should and would need to buy everything organic if you switch to eating plant-based. Well, is this true? Let's look at that together today. In this third episode of a Q&A summer series, we'll look at this specific question and see if you need to buy the organic version of all your fresh produce and other plant-based food items. I hope this episode gives you clarity and more confidence in eating plant-powered. Let's go! Welcome to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Anna Zinn, plant-based registered dietitian and transition coach. Hi friend, do you want to regain your health with plant-based eating but feel overwhelmed and lost about how to do it? Do you feel it'll be hard to change your meat-heavy diet and impossible with working, running the home, or chasing after the grandkids? If so, you're in the right place. Here you'll find simple strategies, clear nutrition guidance, and practical tips to help you thrive plant-powered with more energy. So if you're ready to ditch the guesswork and transform your health the stress-free way, cozy up now with a hot cup of tea or listen while you walk, and let me show you how doable plant-based eating can be. Let's do this. In this episode, I want to spotlight a particular 5-star review I received on this podcast, given by a listener with Apple ID 4VicB. She wrote, "Such good information. Anna, this show is really helping with my transition to a plant-based lifestyle. Thanks for showing me how with very easy steps." Thank you for your review, 4VicB. I'm happy to hear from you and so thrilled to know that you've been encouraged and empowered to take steps forward in your transition using the tips, strategies, support, and guidance from this podcast. It really lights me up knowing that the episodes you're hearing on this podcast is making such an impact in your life. I look forward to hearing from you again and of how eating more plant-powered is transforming your health. Keep listening and stay in touch. Friend, will you also take 30 seconds to support this podcast with a rating and review? I would love to hear from you, and it can be just a sentence or two. Tell me how plant-based eating is changing your health, your biggest takeaway so far, or what your favorite episode is. I would love to know how this podcast is making a difference in your health and life. Thank you for supporting this podcast in this way. Now let's talk about plant-based eating and buying things organic. In our economy today, with rising food prices and greater cost of living in general, I know that keeping to a budget is important for most people. It's important to me too. But this may be even more so if you're retired or don't have a steady income. So the concern about cost can be a real barrier for you moving into plant-based eating if you fear it will raise your grocery bills too much. This concern was brought home to me recently by an experience a plant-powered life transformation course student told me about. Here's what happened. Last fall, she went to the hair salon to get her hair cut. Her hairdresser saw her and told her that she looked fantastic. Then she asked her what she was doing. When my PPLT course student told her that she was eating whole foods, mostly plant-based, this hairdresser replied, "Oh, isn't that expensive having to buy everything organic?" This student replied wisely, saying that it wasn't about organic versus non-organic, but whole foods versus processed foods. But when she told me about this incident, I wondered how many others might be thinking the same thing. You might be too as you're listening to this. So let's talk about it. If we look more closely at this question posed by the hairdresser, we'll see that there seems to be two key assumptions made. One, that you need to be eating only organic produce items when you're on a plant-based diet. And two, that organic produce grown organically is going to be much more expensive than the conventionally grown versions. Let's start with this first concern or assumption. Do you need to be getting only organic produce items if you choose to eat plant-based? Well, from my perspective, my answer to this would be no. You don't have to get all your produce items organic if you're moving into a plant-based diet lifestyle. Unless you want to, of course. That's because there are many nuances and factors to consider in this decision. Here are just two of them. If you are really just trying to make ends meet and are deciding between getting a vegetable or not getting any at all, then I would say go ahead and get the conventionally grown produce item if that is the less expensive option available. That's because you'll be getting way more health benefits from adding in more fruits and vegetables into your meals than not eating any on your plate, regardless of whether they are conventionally grown or not. Also, know this. Though fruits and vegetables grown organically often involve farming practices that are less harmful to farm workers and the environment, it does not necessarily mean that organically grown produce is free of all pesticides. Produce in an organic farm can have approved organic pesticides on them. Depending on the location of the organic farm, there's also the potential for conventional pesticide residues to land on these organically grown vegetables or fruit if they are grown next to a field growing produce using conventional methods with chemical fertilizers and pesticides. And you won't know this until you look more into the actual location of the farm and the other farms it is in proximity to. There are actually a lot more considerations regarding organically grown and conventionally grown produce you should know about. And this is something I go into in much more detail in the Plant Power Life Transformation course. It's important to me to help my students make wiser and smarter shopping choices to get clarity and save money on their grocery bills. So you see, I operate from a much more pragmatic and objective perspective when it comes to buying organically grown fruits and vegetables. Now let's look at the second assumption, that if you buy organically grown produce, it will automatically mean a higher price tag and a larger grocery bill. This is not true. Manufacturers do often put a higher price tag on foods or products made organically or with organic ingredients. This is partly due to the higher cost of more sustainable farming practices used in producing organically grown crops, but likely also because manufacturers are capitalizing on what consumers see as perceived greater health benefits that come with buying organically grown produce and related food items, something like a health halo effect. But this does not mean your grocery bill will automatically go through the roof when you choose to buy foods organically grown. The big reason is this. In general, whole plant-based foods like whole grains, dried beans, lentils, fruits, and vegetables will be less costly compared to buying animal-based foods like red meats, poultry, fish, or dairy, or buying a lot of processed convenience foods. So if you move into a mostly whole food plant-based diet, you may find your grocery bills to be comparable or even less than before. I remember a member of my Beginners for Plant-Based Diet Success Facebook community group with initials JJ sharing about her experience about this. She said, I'm buying organic where I can and actually find our grocery bill is substantially less. I'm not buying expensive convenience foods and meats and dairy. I actually think it's very economical unless you go for specialty items like TVP or textured vegetable protein, which isn't expensive when compared to meat, or high-dollar fruits like dragon fruit. So it is possible to transform your health while enjoying plant-based eating on a budget. And it is not always the case that an organically grown produce item will be sold at a higher price than a comparable conventionally grown produce item. Sometimes you can save money and get more bang for your buck when you choose to buy a produce item organically. I gave a few examples of this in episode 157. So if you're interested to learn more, head there after listening to this episode. I'll link episode 157 for you in the show notes. So today we looked at another community question in this summer series: whether eating plant-based will automatically be way more expensive because you need to buy everything organic. And I hope I showed you in this episode that this is not the case. You don't necessarily need to buy every produce item organically grown, and your total grocery bill doesn't need to substantially go up. Not if you are smart about what you actually buy in the store when eating plant-based. It's also not true that just buying something organically grown will mean it will automatically be more expensive than the conventionally grown produce item. I hope this episode brings you much clarity. Friend, if you would like to know more about how to best save money and still enjoy plant-based eating on a budget while transforming your health, go to plantnourish.com/PPLT course to see if the Plant-Powered Life Transformation course is right for you. You'll not only learn more about organic and conventionally grown produce, but will also gain produce stretching hacks and other money-saving tips, along with simple plant-based recipes and practical lifestyle success strategies. I want to help you move into the best health and thrive with plant-powered wellness for life. Thank you for listening to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. If this podcast has helped you, please take a moment to rate and leave a written review on the Apple Podcast app or on iTunes. Knowing how this podcast has made a difference in your life never fails to light me up. I may also select your review to be read on the show. Remember that moving to plant-based eating can be simple and doable, even with your existing health challenges and busy lifestyle. If you have a plant-based diet question you'll like me to answer on the show, share that question with me using the contact options in the show notes. Thanks for joining me today, and I can't wait to connect with you again in the next episode. Until next time, keep plant-focused and thriving, my friend.